In this video, I'm going to break down the exact framework we use for strategy calls when it comes to closing clients. Now, if you are new to sales or you don't like sales, I'm going to show you what we call the permission-based selling system to basically make sales fun and sell in a way that is effective for both you and the prospect you are selling to. So if you're new to sales or if you hate sales, this is going to be a great training to give you a simple framework you can take today and take it into your next sales conversation. So let's jump into it. So a bit of backstory how this framework came about is years ago when I first started selling, you'd be surprised. I freaking hated it. I don't know about you. When you first start out or when you're first starting a business or when you're first starting having sales conversations, it gets really, icky or hard when it comes to the close or when it comes to selling someone, because most of the time this is bad stigma or the stigma in the industry that it's hard to sell, or it's like you don't want to be unethical, you don't want to be like hard closing people, because maybe you've experienced before when you've gone to buy something and someone's sold you something you didn't want to buy, but you felt like you were pressured into doing it. Can you relate? If you can, I want to show you what we call the permission-based selling system. It's going to make sales fun and easy, but also gets you a closed deal, which is ultimately the goal that you want to have. So let's jump onto my iPad right now and show you what it looks like. Okay, so what we're looking at here is what we call the 3 layers of permission-based selling. This is a step-by-step framework on how we run a strategy call. If you're not familiar with what a strategy call is, a strategy call is essentially where you're taking someone from not knowing you, taking them through a process that gets them know, like, and trust you, getting really clear on their goals, getting really clear on what the system or strategy is going to be for them. And at the end of the call, if they're a good fit, you're going to make them an offer based on their problems and present them a solution to the problem, right? Very simple. A lot of people overcomplicate this. A lot of people use scripts and stuff like that. We have scripts in our business, but in my honest opinion, running through a framework is much better than having scripts word for word. You want to learn the framework and follow a framework, not be robotic, right? So this framework, how it works on the top here is our first layer. This first layer is all about 2 things happening. Number 1 is they get comfortable, and number 2 is you get control of the call. So let's just use an example. Have you ever been on a call where the prospect starts asking you a ton of questions and within the first 5 to 10 minutes, they just ask you, how much is it for a video? If the answer is yes, there is a reason. It's because you don't have control of the call. Now, it's a very fair question for them to ask you, how much does it cost for a video? But both you and I know that it depends on lots of variables, like how many shoot days do we need? How much talent do we need for this video? Do we need to have B-roll? Do we need to have captions, music? All that kind of stuff comes into play. So if we don't take someone through a proper strategy or get really clear on their goals, we won't know what service they need. And within 15 minutes, you're probably not going to know that, right? So the whole purpose of this first layer is to go through these 3 parts to get them comfortable, that they're comfortable in being on a call or conversation with you. And so you get control of the conversation so you can then direct the conversation in a way that ultimately figures out if you can help them or if you cannot, right? That's one of the goals here in sales. Is I'm a big believer, this is why we call it permission-based selling, is you want to get permission from the prospect that they want to buy, right? You don't want to be forcing someone to buy it, you want to get permission, and that's why we call it permission-based selling. So the first layer, the first step of this is where we have rapport. So the first 5 to 10 minutes of a call, keep it short. You want to build rapport. So a really key thing, if you're doing Zoom calls, if that's how you're selling, or if you're doing in person, you want to find something relatable, you want to build rapport, quick conversation. This should not be the whole conversation. This should be short, simple, but build rapport and find out something that's relatable or connect with them. Usually I start with, hey, what's the weather like where you are right now? Or where are you from? If we're working with people around the world, you base it on that, right? The second step is what we call relevance. Now, relevance is we need to figure out why they're on the call. So a really good question we like to ask is, hey, I'm just curious, why did you book this call in today? Or why did you opt into an ad? Or why did you set this meeting up? What's the reason you're here for today? We want to figure out what is it that they're here for and what is it they need. Usually, if they're looking for marketing services or video, they're looking to grow their business, build their brand, tell their story, whatever it's going to be, they'll tell you. Really important to ask this, because if you go through the whole call and you then present them an offer and you haven't asked them what they're actually here for, you won't know what you're talking about, right? So this is why it's really important to ask them, because it gets the information of them for them to tell you what is it they actually need, okay? This is around about a 2 to 3 minute question. It shouldn't be that long. The third part is the probe. Now the probe is where we're going to start to figure out why they need video. Now, this is a really good starting point, is we want to dive deep into what have they tried before, what hasn't worked in the past, what are they looking for, and get a little bit clearer on some of that information. Once we've gone for the probe, we've got a little bit of control. We're not going to spend too much long in this first stage here. The whole purpose of that first stage, again, is to get control. Probing questions is you might ask them, how many team members do you have? Some questions like that. Depending on your business, depending on what you need to know is what you need to probe about. So it is open to what you want to probe about. For us, we like to get to know about people's where they are in business, how long they've been in business for, what are some of the problems that they're having right now, what have they tried in the past. There's some of the probing questions, right? That's the first layer. To transition to the second layer, what we teach a lot of our clients to do is what we call iPad selling. So right now I'm on an iPad. Usually how we sell is through an iPad. We like to visually take people through a process. However, you can do this process without an iPad, right? So to transition, this is where we go through the most important part, in my opinion, of the call. And this is where we call the client will get, or the prospect will get clarity, and this is where you will get conviction. So clarity is for them to understand, okay, you guys understand me, you understand what my goals are. Now I've got some clarity in my business where I'm at. I know I need something, right? You get conviction because you're like, hey, this person has a problem that we can help them solve, and we can actually take them to the next level. So this first part here is where we have the utopia, which is point A, and dystopia, which is utopia is point B, utopia is point A, right? This is called the gap. So if you're not familiar with this, essentially what's happening, and using an example here, this is point A over here, this is point B over here, right? So here they have some sort of problem, and over here is they want something, okay? In the middle is what we call the vehicle. This is the vehicle that we're going to sell them. And this is one of the biggest mistakes, and hopefully you have this aha moment right now. The biggest mistake I made when I first started selling video is I used to go, hey, so your problem is you don't have video? Why don't I sell you a video? And what used to happen is they go, oh, that's too expensive. The reason for this is because people don't buy the car. When you go to a car dealership, you're not buying the actual car. You're buying what you believe the dream destination that car is going to take you to. So maybe if you're buying a off-roader, you're buying a car because you want to go camping. I know I love going camping, so when I brought a Jeep, which is a Jeep Wrangler, I brought it because I wanted to go camping and being location independent and doing all that cool stuff. If you don't like Jeeps, that's cool. But the point of this is people buy stuff because they have some sort of destination or dream outcome that they want to achieve. They don't want the car. They don't want it. They want what it allows them to do. So the same when it comes to video. People don't want video. They want what video allows them to achieve. So in most contexts, businesses want to make more money. They want to scale. They want to increase their brand awareness, tell their story, build authority, status, whatever it's going to be. We want to figure that out. So that's what this utopia and dystopia is. The utopia is that dream outcome. That's the future. So a really good question that we ask in this point of the call conversation is like, hey, so let's say the person's name's Nathan. Nathan, imagine we're sitting down 12 months from now and we're having a conversation. We're celebrating the year you just had, right? Nathan, the question I want to ask you is what needs to happen in the next 12 months for you both on a personal level and a professional level for you to go, you know what, that was a really good year. This is a really good future-paced utopia question to ask. I didn't invent this. The guy called Dan Sullivan invented this question. It's a powerful question to really get them to imagine you, first of all, in the future with them 12 months from now, but for them to tell you why they're on the call, like what they actually want. In most cases, they're going to say, oh, I want to make more money, I want to double a business, I want to grow it. Really great. Get some visually seeing it. A couple of follow-up questions you can add here that really help you pull out the utopia to get them crystal clear is to go, when they say, I want to earn more money or they want to double their business, you want to go say, oh, curious, why, like, what is it, when you say you want to double the business, like, what does that mean to you? What does it allow you to do on both personal and a business level? When you ask the following up question to why they want that, they start to tell you more and they start to open up. So if you've ever experienced on a sales call, you've had a prospect going, yep, just get to the price, just tell me how much it is. If you've ever had that happen before, that's usually because there's what we call sales resistance. So when we ask a utopia question, we help them visually see us in the future, and we also get them to open up a little bit about what they want. This actually reduces sales resistance in a sales conversation. This is why we ask the utopia question first and figure out where is it they want to go before we start talking about all the problems that they're having right now, right? Really important, because before you talk about a video, before you talk about a solution, we need to know where they want to go. And it's a really good saying, you should probably write this down, is you want to sell people what they want and then give them what they need. What they want is some sort of goal or dream destination that they want, their dream utopia. What they need is your vehicle. But if you don't know what they want, it's really hard to sell them a vehicle because they don't know they need it, okay? So jumping back down to here, utopia, point B, dystopia. Now, dystopia is where we figure out the facts and figures about where they are now. So we figure out what are they earning financially, monthly on a revenue. Really good asking point to ask them. Even though you're making videos, you want to understand where is their business at right now. What have they tried in the past? What type of content they're doing. We get to the facts and the need to know here. This is really about what's their dystopia, what's going on in their world right now. And we're going to probe a little bit, right? Once we've figured out the utopia and the dystopia, we move on to what I like to call There are 3 roadblocks, and then we have 3 quick wins. So this is the strategy part of the call. So what I like to do is I like to have calls where we use an iPad or we use the computer. We visually go through some diagrams to draw out a strategy with a prospect. I think it's really important that if you are going to have a strategy call, you actually do a little bit of strategy with a prospect to show them some of the visuals, the videos that they can be doing in their business, some of the stuff that they can do. Now, this part doesn't need to be different every time. It can be the same. In most cases, what we do in our strategy process, there's a process of how we do it, like a roadblock or how we uncover some stuff. But the roadblocks is essentially asking them, once we figure out where they are, where they want to go, we want to figure out what's in the middle, right? So just clearing the screen for a second. We want to figure out like what are the 1 to 3 things that they're struggling with right now that's stopping them from going from point A to point B. Really powerful, because they then tell you, this is problem 1, this is problem 2, this is problem 3. Really powerful to ask this question. Once you've figured out what those roadblocks are, this is when you go, great, do you want to brainstorm what I feel like is some solutions to solve those 3 things? So let's say they say their message, or they say no content, or they say no social presence. You're great. Hey, let's brainstorm some ideas of what you can do in your niche. So if you know a little bit about their business and their goals, you can start to talk about a bit of a plan on what we could do. So maybe you show them some videos of, some reels or TikToks or YouTube videos that they could be doing, or maybe having some ideas in the call and you're jamming out on some ideas for them, right? For this section of the call, we don't want to have this too long. It's probably about 5 to 10 minutes, but I think this is super important. It's missing from a lot of people's sales conversations. We actually having a bit of strategy for them. I don't know about you, but I've been on sales calls before where they just take me through a sales process and we haven't nutted out a plan. Some of the best calls I've been on is when someone's actually sat down with me and going, hey, totally understand where you're at, understand what your problems are. Here are the 3 things that you need to focus on to solve this problem. From that, even if I don't sign, I get value from it. And that's my goal for this training, is to show you a system, to show you a sales process that you can take today, implement it into your process tomorrow, and get prospects saying to you, wow, that was super valuable. I appreciate this call. You have been the only person who's trying to sell me something that's actually taking some time out of the day to spend time with me and work out a strategy. Now, the strategy doesn't need to be solving everything for them. It just needs to show them some examples. A really good way of looking at a strategy and giving them some tips is show them what they need to do, not the how. The how is what you do for them, which is the done for you video or the done for you marketing you're going to do in your agency. The what is showing them the bird's eye view of what you're going to do. So maybe it's taking them through some video diagrams or some diagrams like I'm going through on this iPad and visually showing them what's going to happen next. So once we've done those 3 steps there, we're going to move on to the 3rd layer of the permission-based selling system. So if you've gone through and you've ticked off, you've got them comfortable, which is the first step, great, they're comfortable, you've got control of the call. The second layer, they've got clarity, you've got conviction. The 3rd layer is all about them getting the certainty and you having confidence, which is confidence that you can help them. I am a strong believer when it comes to selling is you want to be ethical and you only want to sell to people that you honestly can help and you believe 100% that your service is the solution that they need. Once you have this conviction, then you can present them an offer. So this is where you recap and you're going to transition. So once you've gone through roadblocks and you figured out a bit of a strategy, a really good question that we use to transition from here all the way to here, go for the strategy. Let's just say I hypothetically went through it right now. I go say, hey, Nathan, this is all in terms of strategy I have to go through today. In terms of strategy, did you want to take this strategy away and do it yourself, or would you like us to do this for you? Prospect says, hey, yeah, I'd love for you to do it for me. You go, great. Well, let's recap. Let's transition to a game plan. And this is when you open your proposal, your pitch deck. If you have a productized offer, which is what we teach a lot of our clients to do, is to productize their retainer or their offer that they're going to sell, where you have a game plan already in place that you can present to someone, right? In most cases, at this point here, if someone says, no, I just want to take this strategy and do it myself, they're not a good fit. Most of them actually say yes. They say, yeah, I'd love your help. But this is where we're asking them for permission to then open up the sales part of the call. Because this is the icky part. This is probably where you feel uncomfortable most of the time, where you feel like you have to sell something. By this point, they should be sold. They should already be sold on you. They should be already sold on your company. The next thing is you just got to show them the product that you're about to present to them. The product, if you have done this whole process right, is a pretty simple, easy yes, where it's like, hey, you're matching the problem that they have, you're matching that, and you're presenting them a vehicle that is in the middle here, if I can draw over here, that is a solution to their problem. Presenting that game plan, this should take no longer than 10 to 15 minutes, if that, then you take payment on the call. Now in some cases, some people are uncomfortable with taking payment on call. I'm a big believer that you want to get some sort of commitment on the call if you're presenting an offer. And a really good way is once you're taking them through the pitch deck or the proposal that you have, is ask them for payment. Say, hey, how would you like to pay for this? Was that on Visa or MasterCard, right? You want to talk about the next steps. You want to say, hey, the next steps is this. We're going to book in your starting call tomorrow or whenever it's going to be. You get your welcome email, whatever that process is for you. You start onboarding them as a client. Because if you've got to this point right here where they've said yes, they're sold, this last bit is basically onboarding the client. And you just want to assume the sale. And this is where, if you've done this right, you should feel comfortable when it comes to you presenting the price. They'll feel comfortable in you, and they have certainty and you have confidence. So that is what we call the 3 layers of permission-based selling. This is how we run a strategy session, how our clients run their strategy sessions. It's a more fun and collaborative way of selling that doesn't feel pressured, doesn't feel salesy, it feels comfortable, but you're getting a commitment from a client at each one of these stages, right? You can use scripts, and there's lots of scripts out there. I believe frameworks and having steps that you follow and having checkpoints, knowing that you've got to 1, 2, 3, 4 checkpoints, it's a lot easier to follow. So take this framework, implement it. We'd love to hear in the comments how you go. And hey, if you got value from this video, I'd love to hear it in the comments down below. What was one of your biggest takeaways from this video? Is this something that you're going to go implement? Is this something you've seen before? I'd love to know in the comments down below. And until the next one, I'll see you then.